Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all joyous and suffering beings everywhere. So, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. We are, if you remember, the story had just been told of Holy Mother and there being 4 high caste fellows and 1 low caste fellow. And they'd all come for initiation. And the low caste fellow was asked to be apart from the others. Holy Mother entered the shrine. She found 4 men and inquired about the other person. They replied, he belongs to the washerman's caste. He is outside. She rushed, note the word, she rushed to that devotee and escorted him into the shrine. He was reluctant to enter, but Holy Mother took him inside and initiated him with the others. I am the mother of the wicked as well as the good. I am the mother of the low caste as well as the high caste. I am the mother of the asuras as well as the devas. This we need to understand about Mother. She is just as infinite as the Master, infinite in her attributes, infinite in her compassion, infinite in her understanding of the frailties of human beings. Notice she didn't rebuke these other fellows. She didn't tell them to go out and get him. She rushed to him and took him by the hand and escorted him to the shrine. So we'll start this evening with this. Holy Mother said 4 things. 1, the devotion of those who are desireless is unconditional. They are Ishvara Kotis, godlike souls. Now, this is something for us to aspire to. It isn't something we should expect of ourselves. It isn't something that we should say, oh, we're bad and wrong if we can't do that. No. But as Swami Vivekananda says so clearly in his talk, Christ the Messenger, we are all destined to become Ishvara Kotis. We are all destined to become Christ-like. What does it mean to be Christ-like? It means willing to offer yourself as a sacrifice for the good of humanity. The reason that those personalities are able to do that, as Mother points out, The devotion of those who are desireless is unconditional. Unconditional means they don't say, I can do this, I can't do that. No. They are willing to do whatever devotion requires. The second thing, well, before we go on, any comments or questions about that? The mother said 4 things. One, the devotion of those who are desireless is unconditional. They are Ishvara Kotis, godlike souls. Any comment or question?
What exactly Ishwar Koti means?
Well, you tell us, Sham, you know Sanskrit. What does Ishvara Koti mean?
Ishwara Koti means at the same level as Ishwara.
All right.
About the same as.
That's why it's been translated here as godlike souls. At the same level, godlike.
And Brother Shankara?
Yes, Neera.
Ishwar Koti, is that same as Jivan Mukta?
No.
Also, no, they're not liberated
You can be
souls.
Jivan Mukta. You can be Jivan Mukta without being Ishvara Koti.
I see.
Jivan Mukta, liberation is a gift of Mother.
Mm-hmm.
As it says in the Chandi, she gives us both enjoyment and liberation. We do not have to be Ishvara Koti to be given liberation. If you remember, Ramana Maharshi gave liberation to his cow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is just the grace of the divine being expressed through Ramana Maharshi. That cow did not have to go through all of the many incarnations that would have been required to attain human birth, and then beyond human birth as an illumined soul, and then
I see.
so.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
But then Ishwar Koti will be very few then.
Oh, that's yes. Even among the master's disciples, there were only 6. Even among the master's direct disciples, among the monastic group, you can find the names of them in the introduction to the gospel. Swami Chetanananda lists them. There were only 6. So, the second thing Mother said, those who have money, give charity. And those who have nothing, repeat the mantra. Charity means worshiping and serving others as God with money. That's what Mother means by that, according to Swami Chetanananda. Charity means worshiping and serving others as God with money. You all know, I'm sure, culturally what that means. Otherwise, spend your time repeating the mantra. If you don't have money, what happens when you repeat the mantra? You create a radiation that goes out into the world and benefits all humanity. As Ramana Maharshi said, the greatest gift that you can give to the world is to find out who you truly are, to become illumined. So that was the second thing that Mother said. If you have money, give charity. If you don't, repeat the mantra. Both are beneficial to humanity. Third thing she said, grace is flowing all around, but human nature does not change. Grace is flowing all around. This is what the Master meant when he said, the breeze of grace is always flowing. You have only You have only to raise your sails. Mother says, grace is flowing all around, but human nature does not change. This means people are listening to the words of God, but nothing is happening. Why? Because Maya is pulling those people back. Mother gives both enjoyment and liberation. So as long as we are immersed in Maya, as long as we have not had the benefit of grace to go beyond Maya, then we don't get the full benefit of grace. It benefits us in invisible ways. We just really don't know how many, literally millions of ways it is benefiting us. The Christians have a simple phrase, a simple little hymn. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And the words that starts with, praise God from whom all blessings flow. The grace of human, the blessing, the grace of human birth is the first grace. Later, we get the grace of desiring liberation, desiring salvation, desiring the intercession of the Master and all of the saints. But in the meantime, grace is benefiting us in a million ways. We just don't see it. We don't, and so we don't spontaneously change. Is there any comment or question about that? I'll read it again. Grace is flowing all around, but human nature does not change. Swami Chetanananda's comment means, this means people are listening to the words of God, but nothing is happening. Why? Because Maya is pulling those people back. Any comment or question? Okay.
I think when people, Brother Shankara Haima,
Yes, I'm.
only listen to the words of God and not implement what God is saying, that's what probably is Maya is pulling them back, right?
Well, that's what the Master said.
Exactly.
The Master said people could recite the scriptures to him.
Yeah.
You know, they had memorized the Gita, they had memorized some Upanishads, they had memorized this, that, and the other thing. And he would say, yes, but you must assimilate that.
Exactly.
You know, what does assimilate mean? When we eat food,
We have to practice.
if it just goes through our body without anything happening, we get no benefit from it. No, but our body automatically knows how to assimilate what it needs from that food. We can cultivate that practice of assimilation of the words of God. And that is that second grace, that desire for liberation. And the third grace, of course, is the teachings of a qualified teacher, which, of course, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna is available to each and every human being. How many people read it? How many people assimilate what's in it? Few. That's not a bad thing. It's just the nature of this time in the world. Anything else? That was good, Haima. Thank you. Okay, Someone asked Holy Mother, what happens if a person dies after losing outer consciousness? Holy Mother replied, there is nothing wrong with losing consciousness while dying. It is enough if a person remembers God just before becoming unconscious. That brings good results. And I hope this is a comfort to those of you who have known people who have died in their sleep and like that. I'll repeat that. This is a beautiful little reassurance from Mother. Someone asked Holy Mother, what happens if a person dies after losing outer consciousness? Holy Mother replied, there is nothing wrong with losing consciousness while dying. It is enough if a person remembers God just before becoming unconscious. That brings good results. The good results may be that you don't return to human form, or if you do, you return to human form, you return to form in a much higher state. And this is why Krishna says in the Gita several times in various chapters, he says, be sure and be ready to leave the body by being present with me, being with me in mind and spirit. Then you will come to me. That's the good result that Mother is talking about. And then what happens then? That's between you and Krishna. Any comment or question about that? All right. One should serve others when one visits an ashrama. The monks are busy taking care of the devotees, while the devotees are practicing japa and meditation. This is not right. Once several women devotees visited Holy Mother in Jairambati. Now this is Swami Chetanananda talking here. This is not a quote from Holy Mother. One should serve others when one visits an ashrama. The monks are busy taking care of the devotees, while the devotees are practicing japa and meditation. This is not right. Once several women devotees visited Holy Mother in Jairambati. They were meditating with closed eyes while Mother was mopping the mud floor. A woman devotee, M's wife, got up from her meditation and went to help Holy Mother. Holy Mother said, the others are meditating, so why have you come? The woman replied, shame. I don't care for that kind of meditation. You are mopping the floor, and I shall close my eyes and meditate? I can't do that. Now remember, this was M's wife, so this was an unusual soul. This was an unusual soul. Shame. I don't care for that kind of meditation. You are mopping the floor, and I shall close my eyes and meditate? I can't do that. That devotee understood the right thing to do. Now, does that mean you shouldn't come here and go and sit in the shrine and meditate? Of course not. Doesn't mean that at all. But if you can offer some little service along with that, that would be good. There are always things to do here. Most people don't come and ask. No judgment. That's just their way of being. But as Swami Chetanananda remarks, that devotee understood the right thing to do. Some fortunate devotees saw Holy Mother in samadhi. Her body remained motionless and her eyes did not blink. Ah, what a rare scene. The master was sometimes criticized. Once someone offered a small amount of money to Holy Mother as a gift. Trilokya commented, did I say that right? Trilokya? Yeah, Trilokya commented, the young priest brought his wife here to earn money. The master went to the Kali temple and cried to the Divine Mother, saying, Mother, the authorities of the temple say such things. And of course, it was not true in the least. It was not true in the least. Mother didn't care for money any more than the master did. But she was, because of the nature of her role, she was practical. So if someone gave her money, she received it in the spirit in which it was given. And there were times when money was offered when neither the master nor the mother would take it because of the spirit in which it was given. But when the money was offered in a pure spirit, the mother would take it and make use of it for meeting the master's expenses. Holy Mother said to a monk, during your last moments, the master will come and take you with him. You belong to him, so you will go to him. But if you want peace while living, practice austerities and meditate on him. Grace dawns on one who practices austerities. Grace dawns on one who practices austerities. The master's grace is not subject to any conditions. So what's the differentiation here? Grace dawns on one who practices austerities, but it's not conditional. What happens when you practice austerities? You become more pure. In your purity, you're able to sense the grace that is always blowing. That's what Mother is pointing at here. Grace dawns on one who practices austerities, not because the master is saying, oh, you must practice austerities or you won't get my grace. No, 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 no. It's us that must change. So the practicing of austerities, whatever it is that you're capable of, will purify you to that degree, and you will become more receptive to the grace that is always, as Mother said, flowing around you. You will become more aware of it. You'll become more aware of the things that are happening that are the result of the Master's grace or of the Divine's grace. Any comments or questions about that? That's such a key point. It's us that must change so that we can receive the grace. The grace is always there.
Brother Shankara, this is
Yes.
Cache.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be that practicing the austerities, it's quieting the mind, the thoughts, so that you can receive the grace then? Because when the mind, it's like keeping the bowl empty. So it's like a bowl and you keep it empty so that you can receive.
You've just given a very good definition of what I meant by purification, dear. Calming the mind is indeed, the mind will not become calm if you have impure thoughts. And it's not like you're bad and wrong for having impure thoughts. The gunas are producing all kinds of things. You mustn't allow them to take possession of you. So you do what's necessary to calm the mind, the austerities. Practice japa, prayer, whatever it is that you do that breaks the routine of our everyday daily lives, that is an austerity. That's what's meant by austerities. Now, there are severe austerities, there are mild austerities, but anything that breaks the routine with the idea that I'm going to better attune myself with the divine, that calms the mind. And so, very good, Michele. That is exactly it. That's a very good definition of purification, is calming the mind. When we become calm, then we see, we feel, we hear the effects of grace.
Thank you.
And let's just underline this last sentence that the mother says. The Master's grace is not subject to any conditions. It's us that must make ourselves available to that grace. Holy Mother said, 1, to those who have taken refuge in the Master, he will appear at the time of death. Now, this is one of Mother's stupendous promises. And it's one that the Swamis are willing to repeat to us. Swami Prabhupada was very clear about this. Those who have taken refuge in the Master, to those who have taken refuge in the Master, he will appear at the time of death. Now, to take refuge in the Master is very clearly defined in the evening hymn, Breaker of this World's Chain, to take refuge in him. It's very clearly defined in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. There's no mystery about taking refuge. Now, if you take initiation from one of the faces of the divine, that is the Swamis of the Ramakrishna order, then you have instructions for taking refuge. But if you're not inclined to take initiation, you can find, as I said, these instructions in other things that have been left to us. It's just easier when you're given specific instructions by a Swami as Diksha, initiation. The second thing Holy Mother said that is being listed here, misery is inevitable for an embodied being. And if you want to know what she means by that, just look at Holy Mother's life. What an austerity it was for the Mother of the universe to take this embodied form. How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. That's part of that evening hymn that I mentioned. So Mother says, misery is inevitable for an embodied being. Even the Creator has no power to stop it. Why not? Because when the dream of Maya begins, when the day of Brahma begins, because the thought occurs in the cosmic mind, I am one, I shall become many, therefore embodiedness. There is both darkness and light. There is duality. That is the content of Maya. Duality. darkness and light. And if you want to understand this in depth, how this works and why, she says, even the Creator has no power to stop it, read Swami Vivekananda's talks that he gave in London in 1895 that are collected under the title Jnana Yoga. He explains in painstaking detail what is meant by Maya, and why once this has begun, even the Creator has no power to stop it. So she says, misery is inevitable. Even the Creator has no power to stop it. If you want peace, practice spiritual disciplines. And it's just as Michele said before, when you do, purification of the mind comes, and the embodiment becomes a very different thing to you. And you understand in a visceral way, in a way in your heart. You understand what Krishna means in the Gita when he says, yoga, the union of your spirit with the divine spirit. Yoga is the breaking of contact with pain. Any comments or questions about what was said? Okay. The third thing listed here from Mother. These are Mother's statements. There is no certainty about when death will come. So it is better, there is no certainty about when death will come. So it is better to visit holy places soon without discriminating between auspicious or inauspicious times. So if you're going to make a pilgrimage to a holy place, and you have an opportunity, you don't need to consult the almanac. Just go, she says. Just go. There is no certainty about when death will come, so it is better to visit holy places soon without discriminating between auspicious and inauspicious times. Now, this flies right in the face of what the priests will tell you. So from here, it's better to listen to Holy Mother. All this business about auspiciousness and inauspiciousness, oh my goodness, they'll go on and on about it. Fourth, someone asked, why is my karma not ending? Why is my karma not ending? Mother replied, there is plenty of string in the spool of a kite. The spool will be empty when all of the string has been played out. What a wonderful metaphor for Mother to choose. You know, we have, for those of you who have ever flown kites, you know, you have a spool of string. And most of us just fly the kite, you know, a certain distance up. There's still lots of string in the spool. We could let the kite fly higher if the wind is right and so on. But Mother replied, there is plenty of string in the spool of a kite. The spool will be empty when all of the string has played out. And we have no idea how long that will take and what's involved. Now, of course, Mother also says that the nature of your karma changes by practicing spiritual disciplines, especially chanting the name. It actually changes. Destiny herself will strike from the book of record what she has written there about you These are Holy Mother's words. Destiny will strike from the book of record what she has written there about you. So the devotee that the mother said this to, you mean I won't suffer the results of my karma? And mother said, if you were to get a sword cut, you won't receive the sword cut, but you will receive a pinprick. So the karma must be fulfilled. But if you've already learned by your spiritual ascension, if you've already learned what you needed to learn by what would have been the sword blow, you no longer need the sword blow. So but there must be a pinprick. 5, the master never caused me pain, even for a day. Now, what a thing for her to say. The master never caused me pain, even for a day. The master promised, I swear that those who think of me will attain my spiritual wealth. I'm going to repeat that. I swear that those who think of me will attain my spiritual wealth, just as children inherit their parents' wealth. He said this with such emphasis, yet people still do not believe it. Now, this is an invitation. There is no compulsion, never any compulsion. This is an invitation for us to believe the master. I swear that those who think of me will attain my spiritual wealth, just as children inherit their parents' wealth. And the master's spiritual wealth is infinite, infinite. There is no, as Swami Brahmananda said, light, more light. Is there no end to it? He said this with such emphasis, yet people still do not believe it. Holy Mother had so much love for the devotees. Once, when a devotee was leaving Jairambati after receiving initiation, she came out from her room to see him off with tears in her eyes. She watched the devotee walk away as far as she could see him, although she had known him for only a couple of days. Her love surpassed even that of a biological mother. Now, I'm going to read that again because I hope it just deeply sinks in. This is who we're dealing with here. The master and mother, first of all, they're not different. They're just one being in two forms. But let's just hear that again. I swear that those who think of me will attain my spiritual wealth, just as children inherit their parents' wealth. He said this with such emphasis, yet people still do not believe it. And then Chetanananda gives an example. Holy Mother had so much love for the devotees! Exclamation point. Once when a devotee was leaving Jairambati after receiving initiation, she came out from her room to see him off with tears in her eyes. She watched that devotee walk away as far as she could see him. She actually walked some ways down the road, not just stood outside her door. She actually walked some ways down the road so that she could continue to see him. She watched the devotee walk away as far as she could see him Although she had known him for only a couple of days, her love surpassed even that of a biological mother. This was her child. She was giving him by her look. She was bestowing on him that spiritual wealth. Is there anything that anyone would like to say or ask about that? All right. Holy Mother had strong common sense. On one hand, she said, you will not have to practice japa and meditation. And on the other, she said, if you want peace in this life, you will have to practice sadhana. How nicely she reconciled two opposite things. You don't have to do it. You do not have to. You will not have to practice japa and meditation. On the other hand, if you want peace in this life, you will have to practice sadhana. And then the Swami comments how nicely she reconciled those two opposite things. These two aspects we learn from Holy Mother's life. One, brahmacharya and absorption in God. Brahmacharya means living a pure life. It doesn't, for householders, it does not mean being celibate. It means being true and faithful just to your loved one, your partner. For someone who's taken monastic vows, that's when it means celibacy. Brahmacharya and absorption in God. Absorption in God. How do we absorb ourselves in God? So much instruction there is in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna about how to absorb yourself in God. If you wish to get just a really beautiful summary of it, the various ways in which it occurs, the various forms of sadhana, just read chapter 5 of the Gospel. It begins on page 132, and the chapter title, it's chapter 5, and it's the Master and Keshav. And it is about the Master's trip on the Ganges in a steamboat with some devotees, with a group of devotees from Keshav Sen's Brahmo Samaj and a few other people that had come along, including, of course, M, who writes the story, writes the tale of it. But there's lots of instruction in how to be absorbed in God. The second thing we learn from Holy Mother's life, self-control and service. She did not know anything other than God. Seeing God in every being, she served him day and night. Seeing God in every being. I am the mother of the wicked as well as the good. When the low caste man came, she rushed to him and took him into the shrine. When the dacoits came to visit her because they were her disciples, the dacoits, the thugs, came to see her. She fed them. She served them. She loved them. Though her other disciples who were nearby said, "Mother, how can you possibly do this?" No. Seeing God in every being, she served him day and night. And her teachings are mantras. Many highly educated women, including Nivedita, sat at her feet with folded hands. Now, if you don't know the life of Nivedita, she was a highly educated Irish woman. When she first encountered Swami Vivekananda in London, she argued with him vehemently, arguing from what she had learned in her very fine education. Slowly and slowly, his logic and his wisdom overcame her educated points of view, and she became perhaps his foremost disciple. So that when Nivedita came to Holy Mother, her mind was so clear and so pure that she saw who Mother was, and so sat at her feet with folded hands. Modern ideas and education were subordinate to Holy Mother's towering personality. One day we were in the Baranagore monastery talking about Holy Mother, who was in Vrindavan at the time. Swami Vivekananda related this incident. One day at the Kashipur garden house, the devotees mentioned Holy Mother's affection for them to the master. Swami Vivekananda related this incident. One day at the Kashipur garden house, you remember this was the house to which the master moved, Sri Ramakrishna was moved, as the cancer in his throat was advancing. By the time he was moved there, he was just barely a skeleton. And the cancer, of course, was metastasizing throughout his body. And so this was the scene of the last chapters of the master's life. One day at the Kashipur garden house, the devotees mentioned Holy Mother's affection for them to the master. She was there to serve the master. The devotees said, "We have never seen such a noble heart." I asked Swamiji, "What did the master say about it?" Swamiji replied. The master laughed and then remarked, "She is my Shakti. That is why she is noble." This is that two beings, one form. The master was speaking from the perspective of that one form, one being, taking two embodiments. I asked Swamiji, "What did the master say about it?" The master replied, "Swami, what did the master say about it?" Swamiji replied, "The master laughed and then remarked, 'She is my Shakti. That is why she is noble.'" Okay, it's 8:50. We're about to start another section 17. Are there any comments or questions before we go on? In these last 10 minutes, we can have a discussion about what we've read if you like. Anything at all?
One question.
Yes, Sham.
From the previous one, when you said the sword cut and a pinprick, sword cut is changed into pinprick. But who does that and why?
It is completely in the natural course of things. But if you remember, Holy Mother said, destiny herself strikes from the book of record what she has written there about you. These are Mother's very words. So if destiny has written, this person needs a severe lesson so that they will modify their behavior. They will no longer cut others with swords, so to speak. But you have changed in the meantime so that you already know that lesson. You already know that you must not do harm to others. So that imperative that you receive a sword blow so that you can once again experience in embodied form what it means to inflict harm like that on others, that's no longer necessary. So it is natural then that that imperative, that you experience that, be stricken from the record. And Mother said, but something must happen, so you'll receive a pinprick. Now, all of us receive pinpricks or mosquito bites or whatever it is, momentary little painful afflictions. We don't pay any attention to them because they don't deserve any attention. The imperatives of karma are to get our attention. And mostly it is so that we will do those things that do and not do those things that are mentioned in Patanjali's yamas and niyamas. If we're a chronic liar, we'll find we are constantly being lied to. People will lie to us and betray us until we learn the folly of falsehood and the fact that it distorts the fabric of reality. So I mentioned not doing harm to others, not telling lies. If we are someone who steals in subtle to gross ways, we'll find that we are stolen from until we learn the folly of theft. And theft can be very subtle. It can mean when you're in the bathroom at your doctor's office and you've washed your hands, that instead of taking one towel from the dispenser and using it carefully to dry your hands, you jerk 3 towels out of the dispenser. And that's just a very humble example. But it's one that I just noticed recently when I was at the doctor's office, that someone came in and, being in that rajasic frame of mind, we all know that 1 towel is enough to dry our hands if we use it thoughtfully. But whoop, 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 3 towels. So just generalize that to, do I use too much water? So we find that when something happens to us that is unpleasant, we need to look to ourselves. What is it in myself that is the cause of my having this experience? Because there isn't any coincidence. There isn't any magical thinking. It's all synchronous. Very good question, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Steve McKaylee.
wouldn't you say that, like, okay, so when I use a public restroom, I try to be conscientious. I liked what you said, and I try to be conscientious, and I wipe everything down. I leave it just as if how I would want to enter that restroom next. But if, let's say I was trying to be conscientious and on accident I pulled too hard and 3 paper towels came out, at that point, I would just realize that that happened, and I wouldn't let myself, the ego wants to beat you up with guilt at that
Oh
point.
yes, don't indulge in that for a minute.
Exactly.
It's just a waste of time.
Exactly, and
It's
it will try at every moment to put the guilt there, and then I just have to step back and realize, oh, well, that was a mistake. It wasn't my intent. It happened. Okay. And just
exactly. Oh, we must not indulge in this guilt and sin business. The master just hated it.
right.
It's just, it's not, it serves no purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. And
As
it's
you
like,
said, we
it's
just,
like catching a thief when it comes at you.
yeah, exactly. Well, we have to be careful because we're trained in it. We're trained in it. Our membership, as Don Juan called it, our membership in this society is built on making us feel bad about ourselves. It's just horrible, but it's true. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Why can't you be more like your brother? Why can't you, like that? It's just horrible what's done. Now
Yeah.
it may be well intentioned, and it is our karma.
Well, it seems like guilt is the underlying thought of the majority of things. When you unpeel the layers of the onion, it's coming back to the guilt.
Yeah, we really love to indulge in guilt and shame in this society. We are very, very fond of it. And it is an indulgence. It is not a useful reality.
Thank you.
Thank you, McKaylee. Anything else, dears? We covered a lot of ground here. Some stupendous promises were made about what will happen to you in this life if you do what's necessary, practice austerities, as Mother said. You will become more pure, and you will more consciously experience the grace that is always flowing around you, as Mother said. If you take refuge in the Master, you can expect that he will come for you at death. Oh my God, what a promise that is. Okay, it's 9:01. We'll wind it up there.
thank you, Brother Shankara. Very good class.
Well, thank you, thank you. So, until tomorrow night, for those of you who decide to join us, that we'll study the Gita tomorrow night. And then, of course, on Saturday, we have our class on Swami Prabhavananda's Realizing God, collection of his talks given from 1938 to 1976. And absolutely marvelous. It's like sitting at his feet. And then on Sunday, the talk will be Where There Is Love. And of course, that's a part of Swami Vivekananda's phrase, where there is love, there is no fear. Where there is love. So until next time, so good to see your sweet faces, so good to be with you. And of course, we have the Holy Mother's wonderful inspiration every moment. All we have to do is think of her. All we have to do is think of her. So good night, everyone.
Good night, Brother Shankara. Thank you.
Brother Shankara, thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.